As you wake up early in the morning, your addictive mind just sends signal to your hand and you could not control yourself, and you just begin to scroll across Instagram. You went into a trauma looking at your morphed image in which your private parts are being exposed. What will be your reaction at that point of time? You will be reporting that post to the Instagram and will ask your friends to do so. You might also file a police complaint, but this process will take a lot of time, and within this time period, you will be exposed to the public. Do you know how to deal with such issues in order to get the quickest remedy? The new information technology guidelines has addressed such issues and is bound to provide you with the earliest remedy possible, and that too without being in a police complaint, which obviously is a boring stuff. So welcome to AcademyHub. This is Anurag Parasar and you are watching episode 3 of Legal Discourse. In this episode, we will be trying to figure out the meaning and implications of new information technology guidelines for social media platforms. We will figure out the rights it is providing to the users, the duties it is imposing upon these platforms, and the intervention government is willing to make upon its functioning. But at first, we will understand the meaning of the term intermediaries, which is a technical term used to represent social media or e-commerce sites. To begin with an analytical example, intermediaries are just like the postman. If a friend of yours sends letter to you, then it will reach the relevant post office and from there it will reach to your door. Now if anything is unpleasant or defamatory in the letter, the postman is not liable for it. But unlike the postman, the intermediary not only transmits the message, but it also works as an information seller or information publisher. Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, Twitter, Google and YouTube, these are some of the top rated intermediaries. So in a nutshell, the function of intermediary is to work as a facilitator with respect to any electronic message between an originator and an addressee. In today's internet world, intermediary is considered as the spoke of the internet wheel, and without these spokes, the internet as a medium of communication will simply collapse. Looking at its vital role, intermediaries are provided with some legal protections, and this legal protection is known as safe harbor provision. As per section 79 of the Information Technology Act, an intermediary shall not be liable for any information, data or communication link made available or hosted by it. Section 79 says that intermediary being a facilitator only plays passive role, as it doesn't initiate the transmission or select the receiver of the transmission, or even it doesn't modify the content of the transmission, meaning that it is the user who is creating the content and sharing it to the audience of his or her choice. Clause 2 of section 79 says that due diligence must be observed by the intermediaries while discharging its duties. The word due diligence means reasonable care and caution. However, the central government have power to define it further, and that has been done in the newly adopted Information Technology Rule 2021. In last few years, we have seen the percolation of fake news and maneuvered content all across the social media. Several of them have been the cause behind the mob lynching. In year 2018, in the case of Tehseen Punewala versus Union of India, the Supreme Court directed the government to take some active step in order to curb the flow of messages which have tendency to incite mob lynching. In order to address these issues, the central government on 26th of February 2021 published the new Information Technology Rule 2021. This set of rule is applicable to social media, OTT platforms as well as digital media platforms. But in this episode, our target is to analyze the laws which are applicable only to social media platforms. Now let's understand the guidelines. Paramount step under these guidelines is to divide the social media into two categories on the basis of their user base. The one with more than 5 million users will be called significant social media, while the one with less than 5 million users will be called social media. Now give a look to this data showing a user base of some of the significant social media in India. Here, Rule 3 and Rule 4 of the guideline is the matter of our concern. Rule 3 is applicable to social media as well as significant social media, while Rule 4 is exclusively applicable to significant social media. This rule contains grievance redressal mechanism which is self-regulatory in nature. Now under rule 3, all social media need to publish the name of their grievance officer and his contact details, as well as the mechanism by which a victim or user can make complaint. Here grievance officer means officer of the company who can be contacted by the users and complaint can be made to him. Now the process or mechanism of complaining is to decided by the intermediaries itself, but the grievance officer need to acknowledge the complaint within 24 hours and has to resolve it within 15 days from the date of receipt. So here it is imperative on the part of grievance officer to be active and punctual. But in case when complaint is made with regard to a content which appears to infringe the physical integrity of an individual, means exposes his private parts, in that case the complaint must be resolved within 24 hours. In this case, the social media need to take affirmative action to remove such content. Further, a social media shall not host any content which threatens the sovereignty, integrity of India or damages the friendly relations with foreign state or is threat to public order or that of morality or decency, provided that it receives a government order in this regard or a order of the court. Also, the social media need to provide information it have in order to help the government agencies to investigate or prevent any crime from happening within 72 hours. So these rules are applicable to all social media intermediaries, including significant social media intermediaries. Now for significant social media which provides a messaging service like WhatsApp, it has to disclose the name of the first originator of any message if government order or court's order is received in this regard. Meaning that if a message is circulated which is unlawful, then the social media has to provide the first originator of that message to the government agencies. Further, 3 officers are to be appointed by the significant social media intermediaries. One of them is a grievance officer, which we talked about in rule 3 and is common for all social media. But the other 2, which are explicitly for significant social media, are a chief compliance officer and nodal contact person. The responsibility of chief compliance officer is to ensure that the rules and regulations are being followed, and in case of any contravention, he will be liable for proceeding, while the nodal contact person will be working as a link between government agencies and the social media. He will be responsible for 24/7 coordination with the law enforcement agency. To note, all these 3 officers shall be resident in India. Now for users, if your post is termed unlawful and is being removed, then you have the right to be heard. Means the intermediary cannot act according to their whims and fancies. Along with all these, the significant social media need to verify their users, and if verified, provide them a remarkable sign like that blue tick. So accordingly, anyone can get blue tick now. So now these are the laws which is going to govern the world of social media, and in case you find any issue, just visit the website of the social media, follow the mechanism being provided there and get your issue resolved within the time period provided. Now the question is, what if these intermediaries doesn't follow the rules? In that case, the safe harbor provision provided under section 79 of the IT Act will be removed, and the intermediary will be liable for the act of its user just like an individual. Recently, Twitter was denying to abide by these rules, and thus it was booked for spreading violent content along with its user by the Uttar Pradesh police. The last thing to note is that here the government means central government, state government, as well as the local authorities. So the contention by the political opposition that the government is trying to silent them and therefore these guidelines are being introduced is just rubbish, because they are also ruling several states and they are also getting such power of intervention. Despite these laws, the world of social media need to be administered more efficiently, because there are several issues which are yet to be addressed. Thanks for watching. It is believed that such analysis of information technology guidelines is unavailable in public domain. So kindly share it with your loving ones to make them better informed.